Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to Train Tuesday. I'm your host, Jim Wiggin, and we've got some cool stuff to talk about here today before the end of the month. Believe it or not, it is the end of the month as we are speaking, and that means you only have until Friday to get to your dealer to order these last-minute things. So let's do some shout-outs real quick. We've got Chris in the house. We've got Chad. We have Donald, Cody, Chris. We've got John's Railroad Videos. We've got Ramsey. Looks like we got Joseph and Kaylin. Who else we got in here? We got Gary. And let's see. We got a few more that just joined up. Joel is in the house. Kevin's in the house. We've got a pretty full house here today, and that's great for a nice June Tuesday afternoon to talk about. Today we're going to talk about trucks and specifically Ford F-100 trucks, and we're going to talk about cabooses. So if you're a fan of the days when a caboose was on the end of the train, well, we've probably got something for you today to talk about. Let's see, we've got Frederick has just joined us. Hey, Frederick, welcome aboard. We've got Chris all the way from California, and we've got Jay Cure. We have D'Angelo, Chris, Tony. All right. So, hey, we got a good crowd here. Let's get started. We got a lot to talk about here today. We're going to talk about some cabooses. We're going to talk about some vehicles for your layout or your modules or whatever you got going on. And here's the great news. You know, this coming weekend, for the first time in a very long time, I get to go to a train show. Now, I'm just kind of going to see what's all there. Athearn won't actually be set up there, but that's a sign that the this part of the country and other parts of the United States and Canada, they're slowly opening up, which means we're going to start seeing more shows. So I bet by next year at this time, I'll have the opportunity to see a lot of you guys at one of the shows that we're going to be at across the country. So I'm really excited about that. And also something else that's exciting is on Friday at 3:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, we're going to be showing you the new stuff from July. It's going to be a lot of exciting stuff, so you're going to want to tune in for that. And I may have a special treat for you. I may not be at the Athearn studio. I might be somewhere else. In fact, give you a hint, it's a place that we've probably seen on Virtual Railfan a few times. So let's get going and get started. So what we're going to start talking about today is the F-100s, Ford F-100s. And again, you have until the end of this week to check these out. Here we go. Now, these are officially licensed by Ford. I'm going to put those up there. Hopefully can you guys hear me okay? Let's make sure. Yep, looks like the microphone's on and everything's working. I'll turn this up just a tad for you. Okay. Now, these are officially licensed by the Ford Motor Company. The Ford F-100, of course, not just a pickup truck, but they were in different variants. As you see here, this was the old school van. This was the old utility truck of the 1950s. And a lot of these soldiered on for many, many, many years. They were new in the early to mid 50s. And, they soldiered on for quite a while. And so we're offering these and some really cool paint schemes. And these will be perfect for your layout, your module, club layout. I mean, the first one we have here is the Bell Telephone. This is perfect for any layout set in the 50s into the early 60s. This was the standard Bell Telephone paint scheme for many years until they changed it in about the mid 60s. So if you're modeling the transition era, you're probably going to want one or two of these on your layout. Following up in about that same time period, we have a Harrison's Hardware and Plumbing. That is perfect for like your hardware store, your downtown scene. We've also got Midtown Appliance. It's another one that's great for your downtown scene. Maybe you got some shipping docks or a warehouse. Well, this would be one of those vehicles that come and pick up something that would have been dropped off at the freight house. And this one here, you can use this a little bit later if you like. You can use this all the way into the 60s. Of course, we've got the Railway Express Agency. And this was, years before Amazon, years before UPS, years before all those other services. The Railway Express Agency, along with the Postal Service, was pretty much the only two ways to go. In the old days, packages would be dropped off at stations, and these trucks would come to the stations, pick those up, and then deliver them to the different addresses, usually a residential or a business address. So this one here, this is good right up until about 1970. We've also got the reliable plumbing. That's great for anywhere between the 1950s, even into the early 1970s. And then, of course, we've got a police version too. In this case, police would probably have used this in the mid 50s, probably as late as the early 60s. Now, we didn't stop there. We've got a special one here we'll talk about in a minute, but we've also got the fire and rescue. Same thing as the police. Now, if you are modeling a rural area, some of these lasted into the 70s. If you're modeling a rural part of the country or Canada, it would not be unknown to see one of these in a small town still. Small towns would keep their trucks for quite a while, and they were maintained rather well, so they would last quite a while. So it wouldn't be hard to justify this in the 1970s. And then check out the last one. So this one's kind of cool. We're offering the Athearn 75th anniversary paint scheme on this very popular model that we've offered in the past, and something different for your layout. It's definitely going to be a conversation piece. If you put this on your module, your layout, people are going to notice it, and they might ask you some questions. And it's just a fun model that we're offering. So again, these are officially licensed by the Ford Motor Company, and they are ready to go. Once you purchase them, you just take them out of the package and place them on your layout wherever you need them to be. These are a great variety of vehicles, and even though that they represent an F-100 from the mid-1950s, you can use them, like I was saying earlier, you can use them for the 50s, 60s, 70s, and if you want, maybe you want to do a car show. You can definitely put these in a car show in a more modern setting. So they're kind of a cool car. They've got some really nice detail. Of course, they've got their clear windows. They've got an interior. They've got rubber wheels. Really just a nice little truck, and perfect for any of those little scenes that you're trying to make. So if you've got some of those buildings with some of those companies in it, you can definitely park them in front of them. Or the freight station, anything like that. In the Athearn van, well, you can put that anywhere you want. So that is the Ford F-100s that we're going to be offering. Now, you have until this Friday, to pick one of these up. And I know my modular layout's probably going to pick up at least one of those. Definitely want to pick up the 75th anniversary version. Anthony says, love that Athearn 75th anniversary Ford. It's actually an F-100, not quite an F-150, but close. The F-100 was the earlier variant. And yeah, you'll definitely want to pick that up. Get that for your layout. Let's see. I just want to see if there's any other questions on the F-100s. I'm kind of excited about those because I have a affinity for certain brands of vehicles. Will they fit the Athearn auto racks? Probably not. Maybe with some work they would, but I've not ever tried to attempt that. But if you have a bi-level, you could probably put it in there. Of course, when these were new, they would have been on an auto rack that doesn't look anything at all like the auto racks we have nowadays. All right. Now, we're going to go on to something that we don't really talk about much here on Train Tuesday. It's been a little bit since we've talked about them, but we haven't talked about cabooses in a while. And under the Roundhouse brand, we're going to offer you some cabooses. So let me bring those up here real quick. So here we have the Roundhouse cabooses. Now, we get a lot of requests for cabooses like this that are at a lower price point. And there's a couple of things that I want to point out about these cabooses and why you may want to pick one of these up. Of course, being under the Roundhouse brand, there are some liberties taken with the liveries. We take a little bit of liberties on some of the paint schemes and things of that nature, but these are based on actual prototypes. And yes, they're perfect for beginners, but they're also perfect for you guys that like to do kit bashing. This is a very popular caboose. It's based on the Evans Wide Vision Caboose that was produced from the 1970s right up until the very end. And a lot of railroads, as we're going to see here, use them. So whether there's a railroad on here that you model that you'd like to take one of these cabooses and continue to detail them to your liking, or if you even want to use one as a beginnings for a big project, these are perfect for that. Now let's get started with what we have offered this month. Now all of these cabooses are being offered in 3 different road numbers. So that way it makes it easy if you've got a railroad that you're modeling, it makes it easier to get a fleet of these in your yard ready for the next revenue service. We're starting with the Rock Island, very popular paint scheme. The Rock Island paint scheme that you see here was very popular throughout the 70s, right up until about the blue rock paint scheme. These can be seen right up until the very end. We're offering this in 3 different road numbers. And of course, the Great Northern. We can't forget the Great Northern. Now, this particular caboose was actually very popular on the Great Northern. And a lot of these in the real world went on to serve as the Burlington Northern. Some of these were pretty much brand new. As you can see, they're big sky blue. That was the last paint scheme that Great Northern had with the stylized Rocky the Goat. These were the last cabooses that Great Northern had before the Burlington Northern was formed. So even if you're running early Burlington Northern, you might want to pick one of these up. And we want to help our friends down that model the little south of the border. We've got the Ferromex, and this is one of the coolest paint schemes. I really like the Ferromex paint scheme. This is being offered as well in 3 different road numbers. So if you're even if you're modeling more of a modern age, and you say you've got a switching layout or something of that nature, don't forget, modern railroads still use these. They don't call them cabooses anymore. They call them shoving platforms. And it's for safety reasons. That way they can have a little bit more clearance when they're going through, congested areas of an industrial job. So if you're modeling even modern day Ferromex, you could justify one of these as a shoving platform. And again, we've got 3 different road numbers for you. So Frisco fans, I know you're going to be happy about this. Not only are we offering the standard Mandarin paint scheme that you see here, the red and white, but we're offering the Bicentennial. And the Bicentennial ones, obviously that would be, 1970s, mid-1970s, with the Bicentennial being 1976. We wanted to offer this because, again, it's a cool caboose. We realize there's a lot of guys out there that are modeling the 1970s, and Frisco continues to be a popular brand or a popular road with you guys. So we wanted to do 2 of the regular kind and, of course, the Bicentennial. Now, again, if you're modeling the Burlington Northern in the 1980s, early 1980s, don't forget, Frisco was bought out by the Burlington Northern. So a lot of these ended up eventually getting painted into the next subject that we've got here off to my left, the Burlington Northern. Now, this caboose here You may not be familiar with it, even if you're a Burlington Northern fan. You may not be familiar with this paint scheme, but yes, it did exist. I wanted to find a picture for you guys. I ran out of time, so I couldn't find it, but it does exist. As a wise man once said, there is a prototype for everything, and this is one of them. Our developers found this paint scheme, and it differs from the standard Burlington Northern of the Burlington Northern stylized logo being white, the cupola being green, and the ends being yellow. This one they did a little bit differently. They still have the yellow ends, but it's a yellow cupola, and the logo is yellow. So a little bit different. Some experimentation on there. Now, also notice too that we're offering this caboose. You see how the windows are plated? That was very common on a lot of the Class 1 railroads in the 1980s. FRA mandates had passed some safety regulations that said the glass had to withstand, believe it or not, bullets, rocks, things of that nature, because there was some vandalism going on back then. And rather than invest in that expensive glass, they just simply sheeted over them with steel and painted them. And that's what we're offering here. So this is the perfect caboose for the 1980s, right up until the very end of caboose use. Two more that we're offering is the Northern Pacific. And again, if you're doing early Burlington Northern, you're going to want to consider picking one of these up, because a lot of these ended up becoming Burlington Northern cabooses. These are some of the last cabooses that Northern Pacific had purchased, and a lot of them were quickly painted into the Burlington Northern paint scheme. You can kind of see where Burlington Northern got its idea for painting its cabooses. A very similar paint scheme. Not exact, but it's very similar. And then last but not least, we have the Canadian Pacific. And pretty cool. You've got a white caboose, something you don't see very often. And again, keep in mind that a lot of the Canadian roads kept their vans, as they call them up north, they kept them longer than the United States. It's not uncommon to go into Canada and still see one of these in use occasionally for various functions, mainly as a shoving platform, sometimes for an unusual load or a rather large load. They use them for safety reasons, clearance reasons, things of that nature. And again, this one's being offered in 3 different roads, or 3 different numbers rather. So yeah, exactly. Jay, I see your comment there. I'm going to bring that up. Blank windows, welded shut doors equals shoving platform. You were absolutely right. Not too far from where I'm at, I see on the former Illinois terminal that there's still an old Illinois Central caboose being used as a shoving platform. So not unusual at all. So like I said, these roundhouse cabooses, they are perfect for using as they are out of the box. They're great for beginners that want to get a caboose on their train. But also think about it for a second. You know, we're in the middle of summer right now, but I know a lot of you guys are working on projects for the coming year. And these are the perfect starting point for a kit bash or a heavily detailed model. So one of the things I wanted to show you real quickly before we move on is this is a book that I picked up many years ago by Robert C. Del Grosso. And it's on, I'll hold this up so you guys can see it. It's the Burlington Northern Railroad cabooses from 1970 to 1995. And a lot of what we've covered today with the Roundhouse is the perfect starting point for you to build one of the cabooses that's in that book. It's going to cover cabooses like the Great Northern, the Northern Pacific, and of course the Burlington Northern and Frisco. So these are basically based on the old blue box models that we had years ago, but they've been refined. They've got more detail than they did in the past. They now have metal wheel sets that work great on on all types of commercially available track. And you really do have a great starting point to build something really cool. In fact, it might even be the basis for a contest in the future. So think about that. I know we're in the middle of summer, but winter will be coming here before you know it, and we all could use a project. And this is a great starting point to start some kind of a project for you. Now, real quickly, before we go on to the rail fanning questions, I want to share a video with you. Stephen from Steve's Trains did a great video on the big boy. I want to share a portion of that here for you. And let's see, I'm going to go ahead and get his video pulled up so you guys can see it. Now, he did a short video on the Athearn N-Scale Big Boy. Here he is taking it out of the package. I'm going to go ahead and blow that up so you guys can see it. So there we go. And I don't have the sound on, but check it out after the show. You can check out Steve's Trains on YouTube. And he did a great video. And if you were one of the lucky ones to pick up one of these big boys, you're definitely going to want to watch this video. It's a great video. He's doing a great project N-scale layout right now. And he's about, I think, 3 or 4 in his series on this particular layout. So you can catch up, watch this video here. And if you're interested about his layout, you can go ahead and watch the previous 3 videos. Steve does reviews for us occasionally, and he picked up this big boy and did a great job with it. It's a great running locomotive, and man, I hope if you were an N-scale, hopefully you get one of these. They sold out quick, and it's another reason why you need to pre-order. You definitely want to pre-order, because if you don't, you might find yourself without a locomotive or piece of freight equipment that you would like. So I'm going to go ahead and bring up the rail cam here. And I am going to go somewhere we don't normally go. Perfect timing. We are going to go to Fort Madison, Iowa. And look at this, perfect timing. And we've got time for a few questions. So look at that, we got some action, and it's looking good. We got some BNSF power on the front here. We've got a stack train, Fort Madison, Iowa. So we got a little bit of time left. So shoot out your questions. I'm going to try to get to them and answer those questions. I've got one from David here. Any Ford cement trucks coming out soon? I don't know of any off the top of my head. We've been hitting the Ford truck stuff pretty heavy this past year. But if we feel that it might be time to run those again, we might just do that. So definitely we'll be doing something like that in the future. I just don't know when exactly. Got some questions out there about the SD70 ACUs, and yeah, we're getting close. Those are going to be coming here in about November. We should start seeing some samples of those, just like we did with the Dash 9. We should be seeing those soon. In fact, I really hope I have some available to start showing at a few of the shows that we're planning on going to. So keep in mind that our developers in California and myself, whenever something like that comes in, we'll sometimes do a special show. We did it with the Dash 9s. It's exciting to see these new products come out. Jeremy, are you going to do any more Carson's Publications passenger cars? It's funny you mentioned that. I've actually got a couple of those. No, we probably won't. A couple of reasons why is Carson's, unfortunately, is no longer around. However, your favorites from Carson's, which would include Railroad Model Craftsman and Railfan and Railroad, they are still available. They're still in print. They're under White River Publications. You've probably seen Harry from RMC on the show, and you've probably seen Tony Cook from White River come on the show. So the good news is the magazines are still available. Probably won't do the Carson's cars anymore because unfortunately Carson's is no longer around anymore. Let's see, you got time for a few more questions. Chris, this is a good question. He says, Jim, over the years, you guys have made the Roundhouse Overland passenger cars, and are you guys bringing those back anytime soon? I would like to have a Strasbourg coach in Setsu. Can you bring them back or not? Chris, you need to tune in on Friday. You need to tune in on Friday. Remember, Friday at 3:30 Central Standard Time, we're doing our live announcements for the month of July, and I'm working on doing this in a special place for you guys too. So tune in on Friday. I think you'll be happy. We've got a lot of great stuff coming, but don't forget, we've got a lot of great stuff this month too. We've got the SD90s. If you haven't made your order for the SD90s yet, and you've been thinking about it, you really need to get to your dealer before Friday, because so many times, myself included, have thought, man, I should have ordered that. If I just pre-ordered that, I wouldn't have to spend all the time looking on the internet and seeing what I may have missed. And those N-scale big boys, that's a good example. They were gone. A lot of dealers brought them in, and the people that pre-ordered them, and there was none left in stock. So let's see. Now, I see some of your comments out there for locomotives that we currently produce in new road names and such. Don't forget to use our Contact Us page and go to product suggestions. Our developers read those daily. We're compiling data. So don't think that it's just an email that's going off into nowhere. We are reading those. We don't respond to those. It is basically a collection point. But I can guarantee you, developers like John and Janik, they're reading those. Let's see. What other questions do we have? How about KCS, SW1500, and SD40s? Definitely a possibility. We get a lot of people asking for KCS. We also get a lot of people asking for switchers. So, guys, keep watching. Keep watching our YouTube channel. Keep watching our live feeds. Keep watching our social media. We're doing some fun things here and working closely with the developers and kind of giving you guys a sneak peek from time to time of what they're working on. Joseph, as well you should be. They're very, very exciting release. Now, if you did the first pre-orders, which was last summer, it was about last July, we announced the first run of Dash 9s. They will be here. We're looking at, it's a little bit out yet, but we're looking at the end of summer, early fall. As that time gets closer, you'll see that the date gets tighter, and then we'll actually have a date. But we're looking at late summer, which isn't really all that far away. Now, if you did the Dash 9s that we announced a few months ago, those are still out a little less than a year. But the first run, we're going to be seeing those here by the end of the summer. All right, I've got time for one more question, and then we're going to pull the pin. Let me see. Got some new ones coming up here. You guys have got some good questions. I'm just trying to find the best question to end the show with. A lot of good stuff going on. I am going to go to Marvin. Marvin says, I'm looking forward to the Genesis 2.0 AC 4400 CWs, especially the SP and the XSP. Yeah, you're not alone, Marvin. There's a lot of guys looking forward to that. It's exciting. It's an exciting time here at Athearn. We've got some great new projects that are coming up. And like I said, tune in on Friday. We've got some great stuff that's coming out. And you know what? The nice thing is every month we try to come out with a variety of things. We try to come out with a variety of items that everybody likes. We realize not everybody does modern 6-axle. And we also realize not everybody does steam locomotives. But we try to give you guys a variety so that every month there's something that you can look forward to. And that includes both HO and N scale. So keep in mind, every month we're going to have some new stuff for you. And looking forward to showing you guys all that new stuff. So before I go, don't forget, you have until Friday to get with your dealer, pre-order the SD90s. We've talked about some great 50-foot box cars. N-scale guys, I know myself included, there's some 50-foot N-scale box cars that I'm going to be pre-ordering for my layout. And of course, these cabooses. And again, don't forget, if you need something that's great kit bash fodder, these Roundhouse cabooses are perfect. They're a great starting point, and with some good pictures and some detail parts and some time in your workshop, I can't think of a better way to use an afternoon, especially when it's cold and nasty out. So start planning now. You're really gonna have some great projects out there, and like I said, we might actually do a contest based on that. All right, everybody, thanks again for joining me today on Train Tuesday, and I want to thank everybody for showing up today and being a part of the show. Don't forget, this Friday we've got two things going on. You need to get to your dealer, and you need to tune in at 3:30 Central Time for the July announcements. They'll be coming here before you know it. So I want everybody out there, before we get to the weekend, I want you to be happy, be healthy, be safe, do some modeling, do some good, and above all else, high greens, everyone. Have a great day.